Hello, everyone. MikesMMAPicks here with episode 6 of an MMA betting seminar. Excited to be back. We've spent some time putting together a number of other MMA betting seminar episodes. And for everyone who's stuck with us throughout this journey, it's been a very profitable experience. Today's episode, we're going to talk about bankroll management and how that's an important aspect of MMA betting. It should be the most important part of your toolbox here. So let's get into what other episodes we've had under our belt so far. Episode number 1, targeting fighters who will fight hard for your money. That's very important. Episode 2, developing a winning process. Now, if you don't have a winning process, things can go awry very, very quickly. If your process is flawed, if your implied probability, the way you assign implied probability is off, or you don't know what you're doing, you're going to see lackluster results, or worst case scenario, become a losing bettor. So that's a dangerous proposition. Episode number 3, we talked about getting in at the right price and when to pull the trigger on an MMA bet. We talked about finding an edge and how important that is. And what is an edge? You know, what percentage of an edge do you need in order to pull the trigger on an MMA bet? And then what unit size are we looking at? Is it a 1-unit play, a 2-unit play, all the way up to 5 units risked? So that was episode 3. Episode 4, we talked about evolving as an MMA handicapper. We talked about sharpening your skills, going back to the drawing board, making sure that you're third party tracking your plays. That I cannot stress that enough. This is a results-oriented industry, and you don't want to put the cart before the horse. You want to make sure that you're a third-party tracked winner before putting out anything behind any sort of payroll or paywall. Episode number 5, we talked about identifying stylistic nightmares and also capitalizing on those stylistic nightmares. So that is an important aspect of becoming a long-term winning bettor. And today we're going to talk about bankroll management. Bankroll management is a very important aspect of this game, this journey that we're on. And I highly recommend a measured, level-headed approach to bankroll management. You want to make sure if there is a worst case scenario that you're not putting yourself at risk. You want to make sure that you're playing 1% of your bankroll is 1 unit, right? There are other folks out there who advocate for flat betting, whereas 1% of or 1 unit is, let's say, $100 or $1,000 or even higher than that, or it could be $10, right? So identify what works for you, right? The most you'll see me risk at any point is 5 units. Some folks out there are risking 10 units per play. That is a dangerous proposition. You don't want to put yourself at risk of losing a month's profit on one bet, let alone one event, right? So make sure that you're taking a measured, level-headed approach where you're chipping away one card at a time, one fight at a time. So after you've identified a significant edge, you want to be able to pull the trigger. Keep an eye on that bankroll, monitor that bankroll. Don't get too high after a winning bet or a winning event. Don't get too low after a losing event. You want to make sure that you're level-headed. This is a long-term game, and there are going to be some ups and downs, but as you'll see throughout the course of the handicapping experience, you're going to identify opportunities for growth. There'll be an evolution that takes place. So bankroll management is very important. When you start out, you'll set some money aside, dedicate that strictly for MMA betting, right? You don't want to put yourself at risk, as we mentioned, financially. So if you're betting, of course, everybody wants to win, but you have to think about the worst case scenario. If I lose this money, what does this mean to me, right? So when we're allocating plays, bets that are made, 1% of that bankroll is 1 unit. As we mentioned, flat units can apply as well if folks decide to go that route. So bankroll management, very important aspect of this. Oh, we've got some comments here. Let's see. Hello, Daniel. Glad you've learned some. When you're placing a bet, you're always confident, but don't always win. Keep unit risks similar. Okay. Yep. So when you are making a play, it's going to be important that there is some conviction, that there's some conviction behind that bet that you're making. You don't want to identify or ascertain a certain amount of value, but you think, oh man, there's no way this may hit, but I'm going to just look at those odds. It's one of those cases where I tweeted yesterday, don't let the odds lure you into picking fighters who don't have a legitimate path to victory on a consistent basis. These are what are known as bankroll busters, especially if you get lured into them often. Granted, every once in a while they hit, but an inability to learn from these mistakes can inhibit growth and become, the bankroll busters that we just mentioned. There's no shame in passing on a play. You want to pick your spots, and everyone has a different style. Some folks are dog hunters. They chase dogs. I'm a little bit different. I'm living proof that playing chalk, you can win long term, but you have to be able to pick your spots. If you look at my third-party track betting record, I'm overall hitting at a 62% rate. And that means 62% of all of the bets that we make cash. And my style is to try to win every time out, but make sure that I'm ascertaining some value. I don't want to lay too much juice on any play. And there's no shame in passing, as we previously mentioned. So pick your spots. So bankroll management, important. You'll never see me risk 10 units on a play. Maximum risk 5 units. Average play, average bets about 1.5 units. This is after literally over 1,000 tracked bets for years. And it's important to not get too confident, because like we've seen in the past, anything can happen. Fighter could go out, tear his ACL mid-fight, could twist their ankle. And if we really consider what we're doing here. We're backing fighters. We're backing another human being with our hard-earned money to go out there and perform. And we're not in control of what they're doing inside of the octagon. They may be more risk averse when they're inside of the octagon. They may not be. They may go for the kill. So you never know fully exactly what's going to happen. There are no certainties in this game, as I've mentioned many, many times. So pick your spots. Pick your spots. So I want to thank everybody for this brief discussion about bankroll management. We'll cover this segment in a multitude of different episodes. So this was just part one. I believe we'll have anywhere between 3 and 5 dedicated strictly to bankroll management. But you have to find a process that works for you. When you take a look at the trajectory of what you're doing and the results that you're seeing, how do you identify when changes need to be made? That is an important aspect of this game as well, because if your process is flawed and you're wallowing in mediocrity, when do you make changes? And what changes are necessary? And how do you do that? We're going to discuss that in future episodes. But I want to thank everybody for tuning in today. Remember, go get what's yours, one fight at a time. Work on developing a winning process. Very, very important. So have a great rest of your Monday. Thank you for tuning in, and let's continue this journey, my friends.